We'll talk about that with Keith. And our other guest will join in our conversation. And more importantly, we'll get to your phone calls, I promise you, in just a moment after we check in with our friend Cheryl Martin to get a brief look at tonight's top news head. WBET tonight, I'm Tavis Smiley. We are talking tonight about Hip-Hop Appreciation Week and the Temple of Hip-Hop with its founder, KRS-ONE. Also pleased to be joined tonight by hip-hop educator, Professor Z, and our friend Vice President and CEO, Keith Clinskcales. And on the phone, joined tonight by MC Corrupt from Los Angeles. Corrupt, you there?
Yo, yo.
All right, just checking to make sure. Sold out, if I that way.
No, I wouldn't even go there. I think what happens, hip-hop is winning right now. Hip-hop is winning in a big way. And it's funny when people of color start to win, questions start to get asked, big questions start to get asked. And it's not winning in a small way. I mean, hip-hop in many ways is propelling a number of major music companies. It's helping keep a number of video networks and things like that really moving along. What it's doing for fashion, culture, and style is just incredible. So with that, you know, with all that success comes some downsides and comes some detractors. I think one of the things that I've learned from Quincy Jones is to make sure you know, be cognizant of history, be cognizant of how, you know, how things have come to pass. And I think it's important for something like this Hip-Hop Appreciation Week to you know, to take a moment and, you know, okay, you see all the success, you see the $1 million videos, you see all the things that are happening, but where did this come from? How did we get here? And what steps have been taken? And this is a moment to reflect. And then, quite intelligently, you know, KRS and the people he's worked with came up and started working from the very fundamentals of hip-hop. Let's bring this all the way back, sort of a rewind, so to speak, right back to the beginning, and then sort of take it from there. And there's a lot of kids out there who love hip-hop who don't know some of these things, and that's so important.
Speaking of kids, Z, there are a lot of people who think and who argue that hip-hop has, in fact, become too commercial, too corporate. They make that argument, as you well know, because it has crossed over so tremendously with kids who don't look like you and I, you and me. Right. How do you respond to folks who think, you know, I asked you the same question I asked Keith, basically. There's some folks who believe that it's sold out, and they believe it's sold out because, in fact, it's crossed over. Your thoughts?
I think some people really didn't know how to look at hip-hop. Hip-hop is an international phenomenon. It has a base that goes back as far as African history, with the original graffiti artists drawing on the mountains and in the caves 40,000 years ago, and the Jele and Jele farmers, commonly known as griots, telling the stories to kings and queens without getting their head taken off. These were the original MCs. And once people can begin to see what contributed to the original basis of hip-hop, then when today hip-hop expands to many of various national cultures, they'll be able to accept it, that just like African culture, as it flowered and became a human culture, so too does hip-hop, which in fact is just the underground expression for justice and righteousness and the development of health, wealth, and self-awareness, which leads to lyrics, for instance, today of, which some people may say are too commercial, but like this money, power, and respect kind of music. This is a very conscious expression. I have 2 MAs, I'm working on a doctorate. I've been to many of the universities in the country, and the one thing I've learned out of all of these years and all of these universities, that the message they're really trying to impart is money, power, and respect are the keys to life. Hip-hoppers are hearing it in one day. So if this phenomena speaks the truth and therefore is international, there's no problem with that in terms of the way we see it.
Corrupt, with all due respect to what our friend Z just had to say, there are a lot of folk who violence, and they're right now watching, no doubt, who think, as I said earlier, this is just a wasted week. Corrupt?
Well, you know, one thing and the most important thing, like me, you know, the most powerful educational words that I've ever heard spoken on it was from Andre Harrell during the show. He basically stated about the affirmative action artists and the Reaganomics artists. You know, back in the days, you had after-school programs, you had all kinds of things that took kids off the streets and had kids looking at so many different positive situations when their idols was Dr. J and Wilt Chamberlain and people like this. When as soon as Reaganomics kicked in and took away all the after-school programs and things, you know, the kids grew up to a whole different light of what an idol is. Their idol became the person that they saw every day on the streets that was getting money. And their idols became people who they seen surviving gunfire and things like that. So, I mean, you know, hip-hop has been through so many different things. For people to think this was a wasted week, you know, with the fact that, you know, so many black kids are involved in this here culture. This has made so many jobs for people who by this time probably would either be dead, locked up, or destroyed in their brains. So, you know, everybody has their opinions, but one thing we must realize is that this here is the voice of the youth.
Okay.
And it has always been the voice of the youth.
Chris,
How could it be a wasted week when it's something for our youthful audiences?
Okay.
I think it's dangerous to, you know, speak about, well, is hip-hop crossing over? You have to really look at the audience. See, a lot of that audience, you know, hip-hop didn't cross over. That audience walked across that cultural divide and came to find hip-hop.
Exactly.
You know, hip-hop comes in the voice that it's been. It's remaining that voice and it stays strong in that voice.
But Keith, but who are, not to cut you off here, but I just did. Sorry about that.
No problem. Bring it.
I buy your argument that they walked across this way as opposed to hip-hop going the other way. I understand your argument. But that raises the question, I think. It begs the question as to who those of you in this hip-hop culture now are servicing. Who are you? Are you still servicing the same black kids, the same black community that you started out servicing?
I think hip-hop is showing an amazing balance. I mean, you have things that go on that do, you know, artists that can do some of the most commercial things, and then the next week they can go to a club and they can rock a party just the old school style, just, you know, just a mic in the crowd, and they can get off and do some things. This man right here has done some things on, you know, you've seen him on national television stations, you've seen him in battles with Sprite and everything else like that, but, you know, you can also see him do things